fields, not even just solar, just like so many environmental jobs, like how do we make sure that they get those jobs? So I think the key dynamic right now is really about the apprenticeship program, making sure we create a Gary created the apprenticeship program, passing that policy, but make sure our community have first dibs on those jobs, honestly. Because when you even think about unions have discriminatory practices. We already know that. Certain ways that they lock black and brown people out based on high school diploma, based on if you don't got driver license. Basically what I'm trying to say, the goal is creating a pathway with the young kids, like the apprenticeship program that we have right now, that they can have access to those green jobs. Because we can't, like you said, Simon said earlier, we can't sell it to the party late. And communities that been communities like this thing that have been environmentally, we call them EJ community, environmental justice communities. Black and brown kids, they should be the future of those jobs, and we already did that with Solar Pioneer. We already created the model. It's not new. I mean, we don't need to duplicate it. We already did the model. So how do we scale that up, and how do we create more black kids to be solar pioneers? How do we make sure those kids are becoming managers and supervisors, and they go out there and they make 150K? That's a lot of money. We're not thinking about that. I'm thinking about that. Cyrus is thinking about that. But we need to create. It's cute to save 5 people, but can we save 1 million? And then from 1 million, can we send a billion? So I'm looking at that. And like you said before about poverty, if we all win, we're all good. We all got economics. So economics is the key. So that's all I want to say about that. That's not the last thing I want to say. Then you got cannabis. Cannabis is another industry. We just legalized weed. A lot of people don't like weed. I don't like people, whatever. You might not like weed, but it's money in it. What's up? So it's money in it. Let's get that money. That's the only way I'm saying, man. Like, keep it real. People making $80,000 at security protecting cannabis. So if we got locked up for it, we should be able to sit there, use it as our tools to sit there, benefit our community. So, and I'm also a part of the cannabis task force at Medgar Evers College. I created that cannabis task force at Medgar Evers College with my friend Joel. So we created a curriculum where we teach young kids about cannabis, like the whole story. So how do we open businesses? How do we open dispensaries behind these things, stuff like that? It's a wave of environmental jobs, and we need basically what I'm trying to say, we need to be first dibs at these jobs. We gotta make sure our community get it first, and that's all I'm saying.
So Jameson, you said a lot, and happy that you
I know, I did.
said it. So thank you for the correction. It's not Gabe, it's Jameson. So I appreciate that. So a couple of things. And let me start with the cannabis industry, if it's okay with that. I need people to think about it not just from a dispensary point of view. There are about maybe 11 different licenses that are coming down the pipeline. And we need to make sure that our community has access to getting training and creating an opportunity for them to develop different businesses. I have a friend right now that actually has, he cultivates in Oklahoma. He's from Brownsville, right? And he actually called and said, hey, Nikki, I gotta talk to you about this or whatever. So he's talking to me about all this stuff. And he really opened me up to understand, wow. He's like, look, I'm trying to talk to these guys, but I don't think they really understand what's going on. So, we're talking to some people that are involved in the legislative piece, and discovered that, hey, he says, he said, he cultivates, but in his cultivation, in his small thing, he gotta have like 50 sockets. That's an electrician. And it's not just standard electrician, they gotta understand marijuana. So people have to be retrained, but that's also an opportunity to bring additional people in. The HVAC system, that's not a regular HVAC person that you can just come in there and set that up. They have to be trained for that. There are opportunities for people to create businesses. It's not just about the dispensary, it's not about the cultivator, because the reality of it all is that they're only allowing you access to one license if you're doing recreational marijuana, right? But the other part of it is tell our people to start looking at the medical marijuana stuff too. Because you can access a number of different licenses
And that's coming
with
first.
that. And what's gonna happen if we don't start looking at it from a broader scale as opposed to let me just grab this store, you know what's gonna happen to those stores when those big box companies come in and they can't compete? They're gonna have to close down. So we gotta start looking at it from a very broader scale, and the same way that we look at that is how we're going to have to look at these green jobs. But how many people have access to even knowing that? Who's going up to Albany to lobby that we put funding to make sure that we have access to these jobs, that we have available training for these jobs? Right? So we have to not just, talk about, hey, it's available. We gotta make sure that we are responsible, that I'm responsible, to make sure that the outreach is there and we're providing access. We just talked about the school, right? That should be a school that's in our community. See, actually put me onto something I had no idea. In regards to the cooperative schools. Co-op tech, why don't we have that in each community?
In the old days, our ancestors built their own. And that's what we gotta understand. You see that need, so you take the class. Then you come back to the community and say, look, I wanna set this up. And everybody, the same way we here tonight, putting $10 or $20, build your own. Train your own people. Then we have something to step out here with. We're gonna sit around waiting for other people to give us. That's that same mentality that they want us stuck with. We need to create our own, like our ancestors did, Tuskegee, and all the rest of them. They got up, they wanted us to go to school, they didn't keep knocking on their doors and begging them. They opened up a school book and they taught them. And we have to, you say that, see, things have a trickle up effect. So if I help a stay-at-home mom get her college degree, that's a trickle up effect. It goes out to her children. We gotta take one step at a time. We gotta build our own. We gotta stop sitting around looking for somebody to give us something and saying we stuck because they didn't give it to me. The books are there, everything is online. You got a computer, you want it all day long? Sit there and learn the skill. Once you have it, there's a procedure to follow. If you get yours, you can bring other people with you. It's just that simple.
So there's not one model that we need to follow.
Right,
It's a combination of things.
We have
And
to,
the government's gonna give me mine because I pay into it.
right, we have
So
to
I
start
want,
getting us
we deserve, we're not asking for any extra, we're asking for what we're
I
entitled to.
I still
right?
want my 40 acres and a mule. But in the meantime,
Right.
but in the meantime,
But we have to
in
explore
the
other
meantime, I
models.
can get somebody else, yo, here, take this book. Follow this path like this, like I teach my customers. Take your tax return, put it in the bank, don't spend it. But in 2 to 3 years, you have enough money to walk to the bank and say, I want to buy a house. You know, we have it, but we're not making the most of our resources. You know, when we make the most of our, that's like they had the Black Wall Street, the whole thing. We need to reinvent ourselves right with what we have. We have it, but we're so spread out like this, so our money goes to their community and build up. We don't keep our money in our community.
But who's teaching the kids at an early age to do that? That's not even a part of the curriculum, which needs to change.
It's not a part of the curriculum, it's gotta be a part of your house. It's gotta be a part of your thinking.
But you may not have that in your house.
I understand that.
So we gotta make sure that we are reaching people from
That's why we
different,
reach out in the community
different
and we
ways.
share. That's why they sit there when they come to me, I sit there and I share. Yeah, this can happen for you. You know, everybody has an issue. This can happen for you. But this is how you're gonna set up, and this is how you plan it. You have to plan it, you have to want. You have to create the idea of want. And that's what economic empowerment program starts. You gotta create a rethinking on a reset of your thinking. And don't expect nobody else to give it to you. You gotta build your own.
Well, some people have to be taught that too. And
You know,
unfortunately,
share.
there are some households out there
Yeah.
that don't have that type of apparatus in place. The parents need to be taught, and unfortunately, we are, in that situation in places like East New York and
I have
Brooklyn.
had people,
So that is one answer, but there are a number of different models that's going to have to work together
I had
to
a
build this community.
She supposed to follow me. I have to write her ABCs out on a piece of paper for her to follow it. But I still high enough. Give her encouragement. Now she has her medical license or whatever, and I mean, she was able to build it. You take people where they're at, and you give them help. I don't know how to say it. But when we can't look at it and say we don't have the skills, you got the opportunity to give. Create the, fill the void. And we can do that with $1 each.
reality is we can do that, but what brings us to the table is, like, so the initiative that gave, was such two dollars Jameson, because it's, so that's why I did the whole Nico, Nikki thing, right? So in different spaces, we show up different, right? But when we did the, Solar Pioneer initiative, well, here's the thing, because I'm a great clown, right? Right, so what happened? We had a great experience, we had a great exchange, but then when we got to the end of it, what happened with Vivid and Level Solar? When we started asking for real jobs, right? So what happened in that space there is they connected with us and they partnered with us because the young people that we trained up were culturally competent enough to knock on every Nehemiah home in East New York and Brownsville to get them to listen, you know, to the advantages and the incentives of solar energy. So they were able to sign them up. So once we broke that barrier and brought them into community, when we started asking for the professional jobs, then they pulled back crickets. So we actually stopped competing, you know, like for certain initiatives because we didn't want to stop, like at the door-to-door to B2B. It was good for the time, but we didn't want to normalize that. Reason why I want to add to this conversation is because when I was speaking with Nico about this, the apprenticeship plan that we set forth requires that if you're taking federal, city, or state dollars for solar installation, you are mandated to be an employee partner with our apprenticeship program. Right? So sometimes you need government, you know, to mandate so that we can, because we tried it on our own, and we couldn't get them to give what we wanted.
That's how I'm not my first business.
With a government mandate. So it's not wrong all the time. We took it as far as we could on our own, and they never really proved to be, it was cool, but I wasn't happy with that. Right? Because we did, you know, we honored that agreement, we honored that commitment. I was with these ladies here. Organization gave me UPS, and when I started asking UPS for a hiring commitment, they was like, no, we just want to sponsor it. I'm like, I don't want t-shirts and cookies. Right? I asked for a real partnership, right? So sometimes you need, so the value of, you know, like what we're offering right now is we can do the bootstraps, we can do things on our own, we can finance. I'm kind of okay, right? But in order for us to scale up and get to where we need, sometimes you need that safety net, and that safety net is the mandate. So what we presented, you know, like to the state is these apprenticeship programs, well, let me take it a step further. The apprenticeship program, or the model that we're presenting, is not just for one industry. It's not just for one, it's for any industry. So when we get the Solar Pioneers a recognized apprenticeship opportunity, you know, like with Department of Labor, now we have this apprenticeship program, and when these solar companies come into community, talking about solarizing, there's a mandate for you to work with our apprenticeship program. Not just to train, but there's a mandate to hire. So that's how we get there, because we tried it on our own. We did it on our own, right? But then what we didn't do is negotiate that six-figure salary. But then we got some, you know, like coaching to do, you know, like with the young people, not just young people, people who work with. So, you know, we got folks making 20, 25, 30,000 a year. We're like, whoa, that's not, they're like, no, I'm good. How many times that happened, Alicia? They're looking at us like we crazy. And I'm like,
People make 30,000 or 32,000, and that's a full stop. They plan their whole life around the 32,000.
moved out?
They done moved out, got a whole family now, and added kids into the situation, and don't plan on just increasing their value at all. And it's kind of a disservice. You have work to do on the young person side and on the policy side as well. It has to be done on both sides. We have to start educating our families and our parents about the importance of these kind of programs, and about supporting on the